Hello. Hello, everyone.
Hello, sir.
Hello,
Mm.
sir.
Hello, Nguyen. How are you?
Yeah, I'm great.
Okay. Sorry, it's still a little bit early. Just wait for a while. As I told you, today we are going to have a guest. So she's Dr. Nguyen. She will be sharing her experiences in conducting quality research. Okay. So she'll be she's coming at 1:30. Okay. So please wait for a while. Okay. Um, so right now, she's not yet online, right? So please wait. By the way, I would like to review something. Um, so I think that you are working on the revision of the 3 segments, right? So you are still required to submit the revision to me. You remember that one? That the first task, revision of the 3 segments. You remember? Okay. So please remember some criteria to revise. Okay. So remember to revise the subject, right, and the object. Công. Okay, that's the first one. For example, which is still general, right? It's not yet clear culture. For example, um, um, the subjects are students, for example. Okay. Okay, just an example. Is it clear? Um, more specifically, mm, student. Hello, cô Loan. Hello.
Hello, thầy Nguyên.
Hello,
Hello
cô
mọi
Loan.
người.
Welcome to our class. So,
Thank you, thank you.
okay, I would like to, as I told you, I would like to introduce to you Dr. Cao Thị Quỳnh Loan. She will be attending our class, joining us on the journey. So she will be sharing her experience in conducting quality research to some extent. Okay, so give her a big hand. Okay, so
Thank
so
you, thank you.
okay, so yeah. First of all, I will be the first to review something. So later she'll have some discussion with her later. Okay, so first of all, I would like to review the two tasks that you are required to complete. So the first one is the revision of the three segments. I hope you still remember, right? You remember the first task you are required to complete? Okay.
Yes, we do.
Okay, so please keep on revising, and then I'll give you the new deadline for the submissions. Okay, so there are three criteria that you have to adhere to in order to revise the statements. First of all, sorry, I will show the slides. Wait for a while. I will share this. I will present the slides. Okay. So be patient. As I told you, you have to listen again so that you can remember. Okay, so so not this one. Okay, so these are the three segments that you have to revise. Okay, so as you, sorry, as I have already highlighted in the okay, so I have already highlighted the details that you have to pay attention to so that you can effectively revise the statements. So the two words, in the first segment, the two words, people and television, are underlined. Okay, so you have to revise those two, details. So people here is still general, so you have to specify, okay, the word people. So you are required to state the culture of the people here, okay, and the culture of television here. So don't talk about people in general. Don't talk about television in general. For example, you can specify people as second year students at EF, University of Social Sciences and Humanities, Vietnam National University. Okay, is it clear, everyone? So
Yeah.
television is still general. So you have to specify the program, a specific or particular program. Okay, a particular program. For example, đường lên đỉnh Olympia, or bạn muốn hẹn hò, or a particular program or specific one. Okay, so that's the first criterion. The second one, you have to relate your study to your particular field, okay, the field of TESOL or English language teaching, okay. So you have to control the ideas, so that your aim is specifically or particularly related to the field of TESOL or English language teaching, okay. So here, people is specified as second year students, but then it's not all the second year students in the school, in the university, but then you specify second year students at English faculty, okay, English faculty, okay. So their major is English or English linguistics and literature. And then for the work television, you have to specify the program which is related to English language teaching. So among the programs on TV, among the programs on television, which program is useful for English learners? So you have to specify that one. Okay. Can you name a program which is particularly or specifically for English learners? Can you name one?
TV series?
Yeah, TV series. Okay. For example, I remember Mr. Nguyen. You specify TED Talk, for example. So TED Talk is very useful for English learner. Is it on TV or on YouTube?
Yeah, on YouTube.
Is it on TV? Not yet.
Um,
Not yet, right?
Not yet. Yeah, not yet.
For example, as far as I know, on TV you have Discovery. Okay, Discovery or HBR. You know HBR, right? HBO, sorry, HBO. Or HBO, you know that one, and the program for
Film.
movies,
Yeah.
for films in English. So learners can watch the movies in order to improve their listening, for example, or their vocab, for example. So specify the object here. So the people is the subject, and the television is the object. Okay.
Object.
People is the subject, and the television is the object. So you have to specify their culture. Okay. So those are the first two. And then one more thing that you have to add to the revision. This is not the revision, but then you have to specify the instruments that you are going to use to collect the data. So for example, if you aim, now the research aims to find out what English learners think about TED Talk, for example. The research aims to find out what English learners think about TED Talk. So what instrument are you going to use? Okay, whether it is a questionnaire or an interview. Okay, so if it is a survey desire, so you simply use a questionnaire. But it is a mixed methods design, so you have to use both. Okay, or maybe triangular instruments, including the questionnaire, the interview, and also observation. Okay, so that's the third one that you have to add to your submission. Okay, so again, I would like to review. The first one, revise the subject and the object. Second one, okay, revise the field. Okay, revise the field. If possible, try to relate it to the field of TESOL or English language teaching. The last one, please specify the instrument that you are going to use. Okay, so now for the instrument you are going to use, please make sure that you include the interview, because in this course we focus on quality. So you are planned to use interview in your study because it is a quality one. So I expect that you include interview in your study. Okay, understand what I mean? So when you revise the statement, okay, make sure, okay, your study is a quality research, and you are going to use an interview also. Okay, and then that instrument is used to collect what data to answer which research question. Okay, is it clear?
Hello, Dr. Nguyen. Are you
Yes.
presenting your slides? We don't
Yes.
see your slides.
Sorry.
We don't see your slides.
Yeah. Sorry. This is because a while ago the Wi-Fi is not strong enough, and I'm disconnected. I thought I presented the slide already. Sorry.
It's okay.
Yeah.
Technical problem.
Yeah. Sorry. Okay, this is the one. I hope you still remember. Okay, the criteria for revision. Okay, so that's the first review, and it just revise the one I underline. Okay, people, television, relatives, and it, local residents, play scheme for children during the summer holiday. Okay, and then please make sure that your study is related to T-zone or English language teaching, and then also specify the design. Also specify the design and the instruments, and the instruments are used to collect what kind of data to answer what research question. Okay, so this is the way that you present the relation between the instrument and the research questions. Okay, so here in this table, you have two columns. In the first column, you have the research questions. In the second column, you have the instruments. Okay, RQ stands for research question, and RM, research methods. Okay, so research question 1 is answered by the questionnaire, and research question 2 is answered by interviews. Okay, so yeah, you can technically present a table like this to see the relationship between the research questions and the instruments that you are going to use. Okay, is it clear, everyone?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. So I'll give you the new deadline. So now let's continue with the lesson today.
Sorry for my interruption, but there is one student whose name is Nhật Minh. Yeah, he's Did not get the admission. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Wait. Nhạc Minh. I don't see her.
Yeah. I will ask him to send you a request immediately.
Ask him.
Okay.
Ask her to request again.
Yes. Thank you.
Cô Loan, Mr. Duy is the monitor.
Good morning, Doctor. Oh, sorry. Good afternoon, Dr. Nguyen. I'm sorry.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's continue. I'll wait for the request. I will accept it later. This is the session number 4. Okay. We are done with session 1, 2, and 3. And now we continue with session number 4 with a focus on, again, methods. So this is just something that I would like you to review. Critical ethnography. So as I mentioned last time, there is a shift from traditional quality research to critical quality inquiry. You remember that shift from something traditional to something which is required to be critical. Okay, so ethnography is, and it used to be traditional, and then it was criticized for not being scientific enough. Okay, ethnography used to be criticized for not being scientific enough. Okay, so that one is traditional, and nowadays you are expected to scientize your research by being critical enough. So researchers nowadays are expected to be critical enough in order to make their study scientific. Understand what I mean? Okay, is it clear, everyone? I told you last time already. So nowadays we don't just call it ethnography, but we try to emphasize that one as critical ethnography, and you are, as researchers, expected to be critical enough to scientize your study. Remember, everyone?
Yes, sir.
So from research to inquiry, from traditional to critical. So what is meant by critical? Critical means analytical. Okay, so with your study, you are expected not merely, okay, to apply something, okay, but you are expected to analyze something. You are expected to analyze something, okay, because you are expected to be critical. So it means that you are analytical, and as an analytical researcher, you are expected to analyze something. Okay, so if you refer to Bloom's taxonomy, so analyze is at the level number Nguyen.
Number 4.
Number 4. Okay.
Number 4.
Remember, understand, apply, and analyze. So you are expected to be at that level. Okay. So your study is an analysis of something. Okay. You aim to analyze something. Yes, your study is an analysis of something, and you aim to analyze something. That's the way you make it critical. That's the way you make it scientific enough. Okay. So these are just some example. So I will email to you this one for you to read at home. Actually, they are taken from the textbook. Okay. So in here, you can notice something. So can you see the word which is repeated in the first one? Now, causes could be observed directly. They could be inferred from regular association, constant conjunction between events. Okay, it means now A can be considered to cause B when the two events always occur together and always precedes B in time. So I would like you to look at, to pay attention to the term causes. Okay, causes. So analytically, when you analyze something, it means that you aim to investigate, okay, causes. Okay, is it clear, everyone? Now you are at the number 4, right? Analyze. You are expected to be analytical. And then what you do when you analyze something, you are expected to be able to investigate or find out causes. Okay, so if you are able to find out causes, you are convincing enough, you are scientific enough. If you are not able to find out causes, so your study is not scientific enough. Okay, now everybody, what is the synonym for causes? I have mentioned many times in our class. Duy.
Yes, sir.
Việt Anh. What is the synonym? I usually mention it. Synonym of causes. I just mentioned in our class many times. So when you are analytical or critical, so you aim to analyze causes, or what is it? Causes or causal?
Causal effects.
No. Causal what? Causal. What is it? Causal and it begins with the letter F. Việt Anh.
Factors.
Correct. Congratulations, Mr. Nguyen Ngộ Nghĩnh.
Okay. No, not me.
Sorry, who? Lĩnh, right? Is it your voice, Lĩnh, or who is it? I thought
so
it was.
Look at above chat.
Okay.
Box. A lot of students know factors.
Okay. Congratulations. Thank you very much for your remembering. Okay. So causal factors. So if you want to show that you are analytical, so make sure that you aim to find out causes or causal factors affecting something. Okay, so if you can do so, your study is scientifically based. Okay, how many causal factors that we commonly have in our life? How many factors we have? For example, we have psychological factor, right? Social factors. What else? Cultural factors, even political factors. So you are expected to be critical or analytical enough to find out those factors which affect or influence, okay, something, okay. So is it easy? So of course it's not easy, but then you have to try your best to be analytical, okay. Think about causes that you have to find out, but then you have to tabulate those causes to see the regular association, okay. So if you are able to investigate that cause for just once or one time, it's not convincing enough. It's not convincing enough to try to make sure that that cause is mentioned regularly or repeatedly, and you have to tabulate that repetition. You have to tabulate that repetition to see the frequency. So in the table, okay, when we look at the table, we can see the regular or the frequent repetition of, okay, the instances. Okay, that's what you have to do as a quality researcher. Okay, I'll be more specific about that one later. So this is what you have to do in a quality research. You have to present a table, and in the table you have to present the frequency tabulation, and based on the frequency tabulation you can present the generalizations for your conclusions. If the causes or the instances are not generalized, you cannot conclude anything. Remember, you are not allowed to conclude if they are not generalized enough. Okay, so make sure that you have a table, and in the table you have to present the frequency tabulation, and according to the tabular, according to the frequency tabulation, you can present the generalizations so that you can conclude something. Okay, so that's the way you become scientific. That's the way you become critical. That's the way you become analytical. Okay, so I would like to continue. Now, in the age of new technology, so you can present the frequency by using technologies. Okay, in the age of new technologies, you can use technologies to present the frequency. Okay, simply like this, you use Google form to send your questionnaire to the audiences, and then you can collect the data, and then you can present the frequency more effectively. Okay, or you can use SurveyMonkey to send your questionnaire. Okay, and then you can present the frequency more effectively. Okay, so nowadays we have the digital platforms. Okay, but then is it reliable? Now that's the question. Is it reliable? Now, in the digital platform, there are many elements that we have to consider. So we have to consider, because these elements affect or influence the frequency. What are the elements? For example, here, virtual environments from YouTube, fan communities, okay, or you have economics, politics, everyday lives, which shape virtual worlds, their residents. Okay, so because of these elements, sometimes we are not very certain about the data you collect from using technologies. Okay, there are many elements we have to consider. So that's why sometimes we have to have we have to consider whether we should use technologies for collecting data. Okay, and then what is the solution? What is the solution? What is the methodology that you have to use instead if you are not certain about the use of technologies? What is the solution? We are not certain. We don't feel very comfortable about the reliability of the data you collect from using technologies. Okay, what is the solution? Okay, and then sometimes we are confused about the reliability of big data. Is it reliable? For example, you look at Google and look at the, the data you have from Google. Is it reliable? You just, rely on the data you have on Google, or you have to consider. Okay, so sometimes big data is not the only choice. The big data is not the only choice. Okay, or the data you collect from using your mobile phone. Okay. Okay, so this is just another example of technologies. Okay, using the app, using mobile phone or head cam, etc. So by using technologies, you can collect more data, but then you have to consider whether the data is reliable or not. Okay, now this is the solution to now as suggested by Tomlinson 2011, as I mentioned last time to you. Okay, in the course SDMD. Okay, so we have to manually analyze corpora. So you use corpora and you have to manually analyze corpora, okay, in order to collect the data. And I hope you still remember this one. And in order to analyze in order to analyze the data from the corpora you use, what is the competence that a researcher is required to have? What is the competence? Is it easy to analyze the data from the corpora? Is it easy? Yes, no. It's not easy because it requires the linguistic knowledge. Okay, if you are not linguistically conscious, okay, you are not able to analyze the data effectively. Again, you are required to be linguistically conscious in order to analyze the data you collect from using corpora. Again, I would like to emphasize again, you are required to be linguistically conscious in order to analyze the data you collect from using corpora. And then that's why I invite Dr. Nguyen to join us on the way. Okay, so she'll be sharing her experiences in the field of linguistics, and how to apply linguistics, okay, in conducting a research, especially from the qualitative approach. Okay, again, how to apply linguistics or the linguistic knowledge, okay, in conducting a qualitative research. So I would like everybody to listen for Dr. Nguyen to share something about how to apply the linguistic knowledge in qualitative research. Okay, Cô Lan ơi. Okay, so we appreciate
Yes.
your sharing. Yeah, we appreciate your sharing in how to apply linguistic knowledge, specifically as we see here on the slide. Okay? So the repetition or the frequency of the target work show in the corpora. Okay, so as we see here in the slide, the term now imagine that what you see on the slide is the corpora, okay, or the data we collect from the interviewee. So the interviewees said the first one, the second one, and then they said different things, but they share one thing in common. I mean, we have different interviewees, and they said different things, but they shared one thing in common. Means that all of them mentioned the target work show, and that one is the emerging theme that we will later use as the finding or one of the conclusions. Okay, and then in order to conclude that this one is the emerging theme, we are expected to have the linguistic knowledge. Okay, so Golana, I'm going to present the next slide. For her, for you to share with us how to apply um, mm, the linguistic knowledge to analyze the data. So this is another example. This is also um, the data. What you see on the slide is just another example, data. And then we have to analyze this data to find out the emerging theme. Okay, so again, the emerging theme is the one which is highlighted. Okay, so many things are mentioned, but the one which is emerging is the target work science. Okay, so that one is the emerging theme, and then that one is will be used later as the finding or the conclusion, one of the conclusion. Okay, so can you see something in common between this one, this slide, and this slide? What do they have in common, Mr. Nguyen?
The word science and show.
What do you have in common, this slide and this slide? This one, this one. What do they have in common?
The repetition of
The,
keywords.
the target word.
The target word. Okay. Why do I present? The two slides? Sorry, please let me look at your message. You can type here, okay? If you have not yet ready, you're not yet ready for the answers, you can type here. Okay, Goran, can you share with us something about how to apply the linguistic knowledge to deal with the qualitative
Well, I think that like in the two slides, you can see the word show and the word science have been repeated. And I think that it would be useful for us um, to notice like what kind of language is associated with that word in the corpora. If it is like formal or informal or what. And then especially with the word show, you can see that it has been used as a noun as well as a verb. So when your linguistic knowledge can help you to notice things, I would say faster and more easily in a corpus, and then from that it would be easier for you to analyze like what you want to come up with.
Yeah, thank you very much, Kulan. Okay, so as you see, as shared by Dr. Nguyen, so our linguistic is very important, so that we can analyze the data faster and more effectively. Particularly, we can understand what the interviewee wanted to communicate to the interviewer. Okay, there are scenarios when we work with the interviewees. In the first scenario, the interviewee responds to your questions in Vietnamese. Okay, that's the first scenario. The interviewees respond to your question in Vietnamese. In the second scenario, the interviewee will respond to your question in English. And then, in which scenario do you think the data you collect is more effect in Vietnamese or in English? There are problems. For example, there are problems. If they respond to your question in Vietnamese, you have to translate. You have to translate the Vietnamese into English. Okay. What if your linguistic knowledge is not good enough, as I am try to be humble, not good enough in order to transfer their communicative purpose from Vietnamese into English. Okay, they mean this, but then in the English version, that message is not effectively conveyed. And then your English version, okay, your English version is not good enough to achieve their communicative purpose. Okay, in terms of the vocab and the grammar. Okay, you fail to use the proper vocab. You fail to use the proper grammar in the English version to achieve the communicative purpose. Okay, so in terms of vocab and grammar, you are expected to have the linguistic knowledge, okay, so that you can transfer the data from Vietnamese into English. Okay, that's the first scenario. In the second scenario, they respond to your question in English, and you are expected to have the linguistic knowledge in order to transcribe, okay, transcribe their responses orally into a discourse or into a text, which is very important. They mean they say something in English, and if they are native speakers, they have, it's very easy for you to understand what they mean in English. So it's easier for you to transcribe that one into a text. But if they are not native speakers, it's very difficult to understand what they say in English. Okay? And then you have to analyze what they say so that you can transcribe their English into the proper one in the data. Okay? So in general, be it Vietnamese or English, you are expected to have the English knowledge or the linguistic knowledge in terms of vocab and the grammar, so that you can transcribe what the interviewees say into a text. And then you need to have the linguistic knowledge in order to analyze that text so that you can present the emerging themes. Okay? So in these two slides, in these two slides, you are lucky because the target work is obvious. The target work is obvious. Show. Okay? And in this one, the target work is science. Science. So you are lucky. So you don't have to be very analytical. You can see the emerging theme on the target work easily, obviously. But then, if you are not lucky, so they use synonyms. I mean, the interviewees use synonyms. Okay. Even worse, their English is not very good, and they use their language is not very effective, so that you can easily understand what they mean. But then you have to understand what they mean at on cost. Okay, so you have to keep on using probings, for example, to understand what they mean, and then you can transcribe what they say. Okay, and then again, you need to have the linguistic knowledge. So in this case, you can identify the target work very easily. Okay, just an example of the importance of the linguistic knowledge in terms of vocab here. So science is an example of vocab. Show is another example of vocab. Okay, but then if the target work is not obviously presented like what you see in the two slides, so you have to be very analytical. Okay, and again, you need, so here in this one, I share with you an example, and then you see how what we are going to do when we analyze the qualitative data. Okay, so we are in chapter number 3. We are in chapter number 3, methodology. Okay, and then in the chapter number 3, we begin with research design. Okay, and continue with the participants. And the most difficult part now here. Here, this is the data collection technique. So you just technically describe the tools or the instrument that you are going to use to collect the data. I mentioned already, but I would like you to focus on this one. Okay, data analysis technique, how to analyze the data, and then we have to use this process as suggested by Creswell 2012. I think that you have this textbook already, right? Everybody, you have this textbook already?
Yes, we have it already.
Okay, so please refer to the textbook for more information. So in this textbook, Creswell suggests the coding process. Okay, and this is the visual presentation of the process, and you see. So we begin from here. Okay, begin from here. Initially read through the text data. Okay, so imagine that you have many pages of text. So this is where the problem lies. This is where the problem lies. You interview and then you collect the qualitative data, and then you transcribe what you interview into pages of text. Okay, sometimes you have 20 or you have 50 or even 100 pages of text, and you have to analyze these pages of text, which is not an easy task. Very, very difficult. Okay, so you have to divide the pages into segments, small pieces. Okay, so we have one, maybe you cut one page into four pieces, and one piece is one segment. Okay, one piece is one segment, and then that's the way we can control the data. Okay, for example, in the piece number 1, okay, or in the segment number 1, the data is about concept A, and piece number 2 or segment number 2 is about concept B, and piece number 3 or segment number 3 is about concept C. Okay, so we have different pieces or different segments for different concepts. Okay, and then you label the segment or the concept with a code. You label the concept, or we label one piece or one segment or one concept with a code. And then maybe from many pages you have many segments or many pieces, and then you have many codes. So at the beginning maybe you have about 30 or 40 codes. Okay, which is still not an easy task for you to analyze. Too many codes to analyze. So you have to reduce the codes which are overlapped or redundant. Some codes are not related to your study, so remove them. Some are related, so you can combine them into one. So from 30 or 40, so you can combine or you can remove some, so that you have only 20. Okay, and then from 20 you continue to group them into smaller number of themes. So from 20 you have about 5 or 7 themes. Okay, so now you see from the data, so you write out in a piece of paper. Okay, you write out in a piece of paper, and then one piece of paper is 1 page. One piece of paper is 1 page, as you see here. Okay, this one, 1 page. One piece of paper is 1 page, and then you cut the piece of paper. You cut the page into smaller segments or smaller pieces, and then one segment is one code. And then if you have 30 segments, so you have 30 codes. You have 40 segments, so you have 40 codes. So you have many codes at the beginning, and then later you can remove some codes which are not related, which are not relevant, and then you can combine some codes so that you have a smaller number of codes. So from 30, 40, now you have only 20. Okay, and then from 20 you continue to group or categorize. You continue to group them into a smaller number, okay, of 5 or 7, which are themes. Okay, so now what is the problem here when you follow these steps in the process? Okay, it's not easy to label the segments, and it requires your linguistic knowledge. Okay, of course, now here your linguistic knowledge is required throughout the process. Now in the first one, you read through the text data in order to write out in the piece of paper in English. It's not an easy task, and it requires your linguistic knowledge. Okay, from what you hear from the interviewee. Okay, from what you hear from the interviewee, you have to write out in a piece of paper in English. So it requires your linguistic knowledge. Okay, and then you continue to divide the text into segments. Again, it requires your linguistic knowledge so that you can divide the text into segments. And then you have to label the segment with a code, and it requires your linguistic knowledge also. Okay, and then you continue to remove some which are not relevant, and it requires your linguistic knowledge also. And then you have to combine some codes, and it requires your linguistic knowledge to do so. And then you group them, categorize them into small number of themes, and then you have to label each one with a theme, and then you have to know how to combine the codes into themes. And if you are not linguistically conscious, I'm sure you cannot do so. You have to be linguistically conscious in order to combine the codes into a theme. combine the course into a theme. So you have 20 course, and then you have to combine the course into themes, which requires your linguistic knowledge. Okay, so this is just an example. I would like to emphasize, to mean that your linguistic knowledge is very critical. Very critical. So this is just an example. Okay, please look at this example. And then Cô Quỳnh Long will later help you with this one. Okay. So here you have 1, 2. How many columns you see? Okay, you have 1, 2, 3, 4 columns. Okay. So here, the first column, okay, presents the course you collect from the interviewees. Okay, what they say, what they orally respond to your question, to you. Okay, what they orally respond to you. Okay, in Vietnamese or in English, there are 2 scenarios. They respond to your question in Vietnamese, and in the second scenario, they respond to your interview in English. Okay, Vietnamese or English, but then you have to properly transcribe, okay, that data into the first column here. Okay, is it clear, everyone? Understand what you have to do with the first column? They can say in Vietnamese or they can say in English, but you have to understand them properly so that you can furnish the first column here. Okay, is it clear, everyone?
Yes.
Okay, so it requires your linguistic knowledge to furnish the first column. Not easy, okay? So you have to, refine. You have to edit. You have to revise. You have to rewrite again, many times. You have to rewrite the language here again, which requires your linguistic knowledge. And then from the course here, from the first column, you continue to apply your linguistic knowledge to obtain the properties. You see here, collect the course, and then step 2, obtain properties. So in the second column, you have to obtain the property. So this one is easy. If you are very careful with the first column, you are very careful with the first column linguistically. Okay, linguistically, if you are very, linguistically careful with the first column, so you can obtain the properties easily, because here, this is the whole quote, which is long. But then in this quote, you can obtain the short one as the property. Okay, the property is the most valued in the whole sentence. Okay, the property is the most valued in the whole sentence. So it's obvious, right? It's obvious. The budget limited. Okay, for the second one, challenges are inevitable, and then you obtain that one and you put that one in here in the second column. Okay, so the second column is easy, right, everyone? Obvious, right? Face up to challenges. and here face up to challenges. Okay. Okay. For this one, sorry, this one is a long sentence. As the quote is the long sentence, but then the property is only here. The property is only here. Okay, the property is only here. Okay, is it clear, everyone? And for the last one, in the long sentence, so you can obtain only this one as the property, flexibly allocating resources. Okay, so you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 properties from the 5 course, and now you continue to categorize the properties. So it's more difficult. So from the budget is limited, so you categorize this property into this one. Okay, awareness of limitations. Okay, so the budget is limited, is categorized into awareness of limitation. Okay, and these two properties, here you have two properties, and the two of properties are categorized into only one. Okay, categorized into only one. Okay, so it's not easy. And again, as I mentioned, you have to be linguistically conscious. Linguistically conscious. Okay. According to Creswell, okay. So in here, you are required to respect. You are required to respect the interviewee's vivo term. Okay, you know that one. Vivo terms. Vivo terms. Have you ever heard of this one? In Vietnamese, Vivo terms, ngôn ngữ bình dân của người trả lời phỏng vấn. Because interviewees are not expert. They don't know concepts. Okay. Interviewees are just regular or regular people. Okay. They use their vivo terms and they don't have concepts. They don't have concepts. Don't expect them to provide you with the concepts, with the theoretical concepts. Don't expect them to provide you with the theoretical concepts. Okay, so they just can give you the vivo terms. And these are now in the second columns, they are their vivo terms. Their vivo terms. Ngôn ngữ bình dân của họ. And now you have to relate their vivo term to the concepts in the literature review. So the column number 3 is the concepts in the literature review. Okay. So make sure that the category awareness of limitations is mentioned already in the literature review. Similarly, facing up to challenges is also mentioned already in the literature review. Okay, I mean that all the columns, all the categories in the column number 3 are already mentioned in the literature review. Is it clear, everyone? Is it clear, everyone? Awareness of limitation, facing up to challenges, driving a long-term success or adaptability. They are already mentioned in the literature review. Okay? Here, for the properties, they don't have to be mentioned in the literature review because they are vivo terms. Okay? They don't have to be mentioned in the literature review, but the ones in the third column, okay, must be mentioned already in the literature review. Okay, so there are many concepts for the column number 3 already mentioned in the literature review. Okay, and now for the themes. Okay, who are they? They are the key concepts in the conceptual framework. Okay, the themes are the key concepts in the conceptual framework. So there are about 5 or 7 themes. Okay, don't present too many themes. There are about 3 or 5 only. As I presented already, you remember? Sorry. Here. So in this process, so there are about 5 or 7 themes only, and these 5 or 7 themes are already presented in the conceptual framework. Okay, and for the 20 course here, they are already presented in the where 20 where everyone. So 5 to 7 themes are presented in the conceptual framework. How about 20? Where are they presented? Where are they
Literature
presented?
review.
Yeah, correct, literature review. And then 30, 40, they are 30, 40, they are vivo.
Vivo terms.
Correct, they are vivo terms. So there are more. There are more than the one you present in the literature review. Okay. So yeah. Now look at this term. Actually, when you have already presented the themes, you have about 5 or 7 themes. So you continue with the step number 4, interpretation. Okay. What does it mean? Okay. So usually you don't just list the course separately, and then you with each course you conclude one thing, but you have to combine the course into themes so that you can conclude something. So that's what you do as interpretation. Okay, and in the thesis, that's one is the discussion part. You remember in the thesis guidelines, so you have to discuss the results in order to conclude the findings. That's your interpretation. Okay, so that's the step number 4. After presenting the emerging themes from the qualitative data. Okay, so again, what I have been talking about so far is just my effort to raise your awareness of linguistic knowledge. Okay, you are expected to be linguistically conscious in order to present this table. You have to be very you are expected to be linguistically conscious in order to be this analytical, so that you can present this table, which is not an easy task. Okay, so okay, this is another what is it, framework, another framework in which you present. So instead of using this table, you can use this presentation, a visual presentation of emergent framework. So it's up to you. You can use this table or you can use this one. Okay. So I will email to you this one, just an example, and then in your analysis of the qualitative data, you are expected to do something similar to this one, okay, which is more scientific, more convincing to the readers of your thesis. Okay. Any questions so far, everyone, in terms of the tabulated analytical procedure? So you are expected to be very, very analytical, like this. And then you are expected to make use of your linguistic knowledge to present this table. Very analytical and very linguistically conscious. Okay, analytical and linguistically conscious in order to present this table. Any questions so far, everyone? So any question, everyone? Not yet? So you are going to have another task. Actually, I mentioned last time. Do you remember? So you have to furnish the literature review and make sure that when you present the literature review, you are expected to be analytical and linguistically conscious in order to compare and contrast What is it? What you have to include in the literature review?
Is it the paradigm?
This one, okay. The column number 2, the properties, okay. No, when you interview, you collect the course, and from the course you obtain the properties, okay. You have the similar process when you review the literature, okay. When you review the literature, you collect what? Quotations. You collect literature from authors, and then from the literature you also collect the properties, right? So the properties you collect from the literature and the properties you collect from the interview are expected to be consistent, as I mentioned a while ago, okay. Sorry, the categories, sorry, okay. The categories. So, for example, awareness of limitations. So this is what you conclude here. But then this one is already mentioned in the literature review, right? So then when you write the literature review, okay, you collect also quotes, but the quotes are not from the interviewees, but the quotes are from authors, and then from what authors say in the literature review, you can present the concept here. And the concepts that you present in the literature review and the concept you present in the categories column are expected to be consistent. Okay? So that's what you have to do in the literature review. Okay? Is it clear, everyone?
Yes.
Okay. So that's what you have to do in the task. You have to present the literature review. In the literature review, I would like you to analytically and linguistically highlight the key, highlight the concepts which are consistent with the categories that you expect to collect from the interviewees. Okay? So it means that the concepts here are presented already in the literature review. Okay? That's the first part in the task. Is it clear? So when you review, I would like you to highlight these concepts already. Okay? You don't have to repeat. This is just an example. So you don't have to use these concepts again. The concepts of your own study. The concept of your own study. Okay? So what you present in the categories column must be presented in the literature review. Okay, in the literature review. Okay, and then after the literature review, you have to present the conceptual framework. And then in the conceptual framework, these themes are presented. These themes are presented. Okay? Is it clear, everyone? So that's the first part of it. So review the literature and then present the categories and the themes in the conceptual framework. Okay. Next. Conduct an interview. Okay. And then collect the cost and present the properties. So that's what you are required to do in the task. Is it clear? So in order to furnish the column number 2, as I mentioned, in order to furnish the categories column and the themes column, so you have to be very conscious about the language. So you can ask me and Dr. Nguyen on the way for some advice. Okay. So I don't know, but if you are able to submit, the qualitative data you collect the week after next or next week. Is it possible? And because maybe right now you don't have that data yet, but maybe you have time to collect the quality data, and then you have to present the quality data in a table like this, and then you have to submit for our comments. Okay, is it possible, Mr. Duy? Is it possible?
Yeah, I think we should do it the week after next week.
No, so next week, is it possible for you to submit the literature review with the categories and the themes in the conceptual framework next week?
Next week, yeah.
Literature review, including the categories and the themes next week.
Yeah, maybe she should.
Maybe this is my suggestion.
Yeah.
If we are not in a hurry, so I suggest that you can have 1 week off in order to collect the data.
Yes, so maybe I can ask my class for some vote in the break time. Yeah, if they want to submit it next week or maybe the week after. Yeah, I can create a poll for them to vote.
Because I mentioned the literature review last time, and I don't know if you have already worked on the literature review or you still have to wait for my guidelines or something?
Yeah, we are still waiting for your guidelines.
So you have not yet worked on the literature review, right?
Yes.
Okay. So maybe the week after next, so
Yes.
literature review, okay, and the week after next will be the qualitative data.
Yes.
Okay.
It's more
So next week we will have the last lesson, okay, and then we can continue with the practice. Okay, so just work on your work on your literature review and your qualitative data.
Yes.
The week after next and the week after next. Okay. So yeah, that's the schedule for the submission.
Okay.
Okay.
Yes.
So yeah, I will email to you this one for example. Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah. So sorry. Just if you don't remember what I shared with you today, so you can listen to the recording again, or you can refer to this slide for what you are required to do in the task. So here, RRL means review of related literature. So you present the categories here. And CF stands for conceptual framework. Okay, and in the conceptual framework you present the themes. Okay, so you can refer to this slide for what I have just mentioned for your completion of the task number 2. Okay. So I again emphasize the importance of the linguistic knowledge. You are expected to acquire linguistic knowledge so that you can analyze the qualitative data. So just a reminder of the term exploration of language that I mentioned to you last time in the course SDMD. Okay, so you are expected to acquire the linguistic knowledge so that you can explore the language in terms of vocab and grammar, so that you can obtain the properties and you can categorize the properties into and then finally you can present the emerging themes. Okay, so I highlighted the step number 2 here, exploration of language in the process of materials writing that we learned last time in the course SDMD. I hope you still remember. Okay, so that's the alignment between what you have learned so far on the way. Okay, so I will email to you this one for your reference. Okay, and okay, any other question, everybody? Cô Loan ơi, do you have any comment before you have the break? And later maybe we will listen to something you share after the break later. Okay.
Well, I have no comment.
Okay, maybe we'll listen to more from you after the break. Okay. Okay. So everybody, we like a break.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So please have a break until maybe yeah 20 minutes. Okay. Okay. Bye bye. See you at 3:30. Okay.
See you, sir.
See you later.
Hello, Huyền. Hello, Huyền. Hello. You hear me? Huyền ơi.
Hello.
Hello, can you hear me? So
Yeah.
I want to add, I would like to add one more thing to your question. Dr. Nguyen Long already answered your question, but then one more thing that you have to clarify in the discussion part. So you have to clarify that even though the categories are not yet mentioned in the literature review above, but then um, um, many interviewees responded to this or these categories, so we need to respect their responses. We need to respect their responses. So we have to include the categories in the conclusion. Um, um, and then this is what you have to add in the discussion. And these categories are supported by many authors, and then you provide more literature on this one in the discussion. And understand what I mean? You do not fix the literature, but you have to add more literature on this one in the discussion. Is it clear, Ms. Huyền?
Oh, yeah, yeah, okay.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay. So, okay, thank you. That's also for Mr. Lin question. So please do not fix the literature, okay? Because Mr. Lin asked whether we should create the literature later after we collect the quality data. So please do not do so. So please be honest. Be honest to report the reality. Okay, so we are done with the literature already. Okay, and then later we find out some more things. Okay, we find out some more things. So we have to be honest. Okay, do not fix, do not change the literature we presented already. Okay, so just follow what I've just advised to Miss Huyền. Okay, so we clarify something like even though we have not we did not mention these categories in the literature review, but then that one is also supported by other authors, and then we add that literature to the discussion part. Okay, is it clear, Mr. Lin?
Yes, yes,
Okay.
Dr. Nguyen. By the way, as I have read from Creswell in mixed method design, so there is a design like two phases. The first one we use interview to find out something like categories to create the questions for questionnaires in the second phase.
Yeah. Okay.
So so it means that we have to do those phase before doing the before creating the literature reviewer.
Okay. It is like this. So you can review literature in order to come up with the conceptual framework, right? And then we have the research questions based on the conceptual framework. Remember, the research questions are based on the conceptual framework. And then we use the research question to interview. okay, as I presented here. Okay, now look at this. Look at what I present on the screen. Okay. Sorry here. The interviewees are expected to give their responses to the research questions, plus suggestions to help them to get to the point. Okay, this is the way we conduct an interview. Okay, so now in the first scenario, okay, we review the literature first in order to come up with the conceptual framework. And then based on the conceptual framework, we ask the research questions, okay? And then we use the research questions to interview, okay? That's the first, that's the first scenario. In the second scenario, now you interview, now in the first scenario, you interview in order to answer the research questions. But as per your question, it is not that it's not that scenario. As far as I understand your question, so you interview first in order to synthesize the concepts in the questionnaire. So the interview is just the preparation for the questionnaire, not for answering the research questions. Is it to your questions, Mr. Lin?
Yes. So that action will be carried out before or after the literature review, sir?
Yes, after literature review. After literature review, so you interview in order to prepare, to design the research, to design the questionnaire. Okay, after literature review, you interview in order to design the questionnaire. Okay, that's one scenario. Okay, one possibility. Okay, so the questionnaire is designed based on the interview. Okay, not on the literature directly. Okay.
So in short, we have the literature and we lead to the interview, and after that we use the result of the interview to create a questionnaire.
It depends on the design. Okay,
Yeah.
it depends on
Yeah.
your design. So in this design, so you present the literature review and then you interview in order to design the questionnaire. Okay, that's one design.
Yes.
Okay, in another design, okay, so you review the literature and then based on the literature, you propose the questionnaire and then you pilot the questionnaire. It's another design.
Yes, I
They
see. Yeah.
are different. They are different.
Yeah,
Okay.
I know.
So
Yeah.
maybe in the literature review you have a very good questionnaire which is very close to your study. So you use that questionnaire for your study, or you can adopt. You can now you can adapt. You can adopt the questionnaire, or you can adapt the questionnaire. You use one questionnaire mentioned in the literature review, and then you pilot the questionnaire, okay, and then you can use that questionnaire for your study, or you can create a questionnaire from the literature review. From the literature review, you have the concepts, and then you create the questionnaire, and then you pilot the questionnaire. Okay, you don't use interview. Okay, It's a different design, but then you have another design in which you interview in order to design the questionnaire. Okay, it's another different. It's another. It's a different it's a different, design. Okay, so you have different phases. Okay, you have different phases in the design as I presented here. So here, in the methodology, first of all, you have to present the research design. Okay, and then you have to present the participants, and then the data collection technique. Okay, so here the questionnaire is based on the literature review, not on the interview as you mentioned. Okay, is it clear, Mr. Lin?
Yes, yes, Mr.
Okay.
Nguyen, yes. An, hello An.
Yes, it's me.
Okay, An ơi, I would like to answer your question a little more. So if you use an experimental design, okay, in your study, so you stick the design like the study used an experimental design. Okay, so you just present the hypothesis. Okay, you don't have to present the questionnaires. Sorry, you don't have to present the research questions, but some other authors suggest we can include both hypothesis and research questions in an experimental design. So it's up to you. So to be safe, so I suggest that you include both. Okay, so you can include both. Now, first of all, you present the research questions, and then after that, you present the hypothesis. Okay, so the hypotheses are aligned with the research questions. Okay.
Yes, I see.
For the number of research questions, so do we include research question for more in this? I don't understand what you mean by this question. Do we need to include research question for more in-depth data? What do you mean?
Dạ thầy, em muốn giải thích chỗ này á, tại vì cái experimental của em định làm á là em không phải có hai group, một cái là control, một cái là treatment group, mà em chỉ là một group thôi. Rồi xong là em sẽ cho làm questionnaire trước, rồi sau đó em experiment trong cái nhóm đó luôn, và sau đó em có hai bước thầy, rồi bước thứ ba em mới cho làm cái questionnaire y lại nữa để giống như em track, tại vì của em có cái phần
Okay,
questionnaire.
so you have to include both questionnaires and hypothesis. Okay, you have to have both of them.
Dạ.
Okay.
Dạ cái chỗ đó em nhầm, là hypothesis chứ không phải theory, em nhầm.
Okay, hypothesis, right?
Dạ.
So in with hypothesis, okay.
Dạ. Dạ, cảm ơn.
How many research question enough? So in the course, proposal writing. So you learn how to write the research questions. Actually, I don't know if you learn how to write the research question in research method 1. Research method 1, do you learn how to write? So, yes.
Yes, we
Okay.
did.
So you are aware of how many research questions you have to include in a,
So normally it's around two to three
yeah, 2 or
research
3, because
questions.
be
It's,
humble. Be humble. Don't ask too many research questions. You don't have enough time to answer too many research questions. So the number 3 or 5 is a good number. Okay. Okay. So now just remember this sequence. Now based on the literature review, so you present the conceptual framework. Don't present too many concepts in the conceptual framework. Okay, don't present too many concepts. Just present the key concepts in the conceptual framework. Okay, and you do not have too many key concepts. Just about 3 or 5 key concepts. 3 or 5 key concepts in the conceptual framework, and these key concepts are aligned with the keywords in the abstract. Remember your thesis on the very first page, you have to present the abstract, right? And under the abstract, you have to present the keywords, right? And there are about
yes.
3 or 5 keywords, okay? And those keywords are the key concepts, okay? And then you have only 3 or 5 key concepts in the conceptual framework. And then you have um, um, you have the research questions in accordance with the key concepts. So you have 3 key concepts. You have 3 research questions. Okay. You have 5 concepts. So you have 5. You have 5 key concepts. So you have 5 research questions. So it means that if you do not present too many key concepts in the conceptual framework, there's no reason why you have to ask too many research questions. Okay, only 3 or 5. Okay, as related to the research questions are related to the key concepts in the conceptual framework. Okay, is it clear, Miss An?
Dạ thầy. Vậy trong cái phần mà phân tích kết quả này thì mình vừa nói, mình vừa trả lời cho cái hypothesis của mình, và vừa trả lời cho cái research questions không thầy?
No. In the analysis, data analysis, and the discussion, you just no, because you use an experimental design. So that's one is your, and so the treatment, the treatment is your major, okay, instrument, right? So in the discussion, you focus on, okay, testing. You focus on testing the hypothesis. You do not focus on answering the research questions. Okay, you have to focus. Okay.
Dạ, cảm ơn thầy.
Okay. And what else? So if you don't have any other questions, so
sorry, sir. I'd like to ask other question, small question that which language should we use in interview, English or Vietnamese?
Cô Loan ơi, you have answered the question.
Yeah.
Can you help answer the question, Miss Hoàng My asked a question of whether we use Vietnamese or English to interview.
Well, if you want to have like the accurate answers from the interviewees, I think that you better use Vietnamese just to make sure there is no possible misunderstandings. The problem with using Vietnamese is that you have to translate that into English when you try to analyze the data. And suppose you use English, so there is a risk of number one, the interviewee doesn't understand what you mean, and then number two, they may not have like the competence to come up with the words they want to, with whatever they want to say. Did I answer your question?
Yeah, thank you, Miss. And if I want to choose Vietnamese for interview, and then I translate it and I want to quote it in my thesis, so I have to translate it into English, or I remain the original one and put the translate version next to it.
I think that if you use Vietnamese, you should include the original Vietnamese, and then with the translation on the other page or below that.
Or so that I put the original Vietnamese version and the reference below. Is it?
And the translation,
Yeah.
like you can do it
Put
on.
not the reference of decode the translate.
Mm.
Excuse me. What was the question?
I don't know how to quote the what the interviewee answer in my thesis, so that I wonder how I could do it.
What do you mean by quote?
Um, like I want to explore some difficulties in learning some aspects at our university, and the students set some reasons for their difficulties, and so that I
Maybe you will be now later. You as a group, you have to present your a group topic, okay, and then maybe we will be working on that one later. Right now, we don't work case by case, but then I mean that a while ago you asked a question, and then you mentioned something like quote, but I don't understand what you mean by quote. And then Dr. Nguyen also could not hear that one very clearly. What you mean by quote?
Dạ, chỗ này em muốn nói tiếng Việt là em collect data, xong rồi em muốn trích dẫn một cái số cái mà sinh viên hoặc là giáo viên nói, và cái bài thesis của em thì em trích hẳn tiếng Việt hay để vào, hay là trích tiếng Việt xong rồi có translate kế bên, hay là chỉ cần trích cái đoạn translate đó thôi đó thầy.
I already present that one on the screen. Can you see? The medium will be in Vietnamese, and the transcripts will be translated into English by a professional translator. And you have to attach the certificate of translation in your thesis.
Yeah.
Okay. So then there are two. It depends. And as far as I know, sometimes you are required to include evidence together with your thesis. So you have to include, the transcripts in Vietnamese and in English in the appendices, right? Both of them have to be included in your thesis. But sometimes you are not required to do so. So you just include the English version, the English version translated by a professional translator, and the Vietnamese version will be kept by yourself. And it's your responsibility to keep the original or the Vietnamese transcript as archive only. And if you are questioned about something, so you have to show that one. I don't know. It's the practice. No, the practice is different in different countries. Okay, so in Vietnam, as far as I know, you do not have to include. For example, you don't have to include the recording and the Vietnamese version of the transcript, but you just attach the English, the translation in English by the end of your thesis in the appendices, and you have to archive. The recording and the Vietnamese version by yourself. Okay, but you have to keep it. You have to have the responsibility to keep it. If you might be questioned later. Okay, so you have to have something to show. Okay, is it clear?
Thank you, Dr. Nguyen and Miss Long, Dr. Long.
Okay. Maybe Dr. Nguyen Long, maybe what you mentioned is the practice in the US, right? So you have to include everything, right? But
yes.
Yes, yeah, you have to include everything. Maybe you have to, your thesis will be very thick, including the Vietnamese version and the English version. And you have to submit the CD. You have to submit the CD of the recording, right? Yeah, it's the practice.
If you are required.
Yeah. Okay. So, but in our context, the local context of the USSH, so you do not have to submit the recording, and you do not have to submit the raw material, the raw material. So we interview in Vietnamese, and then you ask a professional. You have a professional translator translate that one into English, and you just submit the English version together with the certificate of translation. That's the practice here. Okay. So any other question, everyone? Almost 5 already, so let's take a break. Sorry, we stop now. And then this is just a brief tentative template of your submission. So you have to submit to us, to me and Dr. Nguyen Loan, 2 versions. The first one, the review related literature. Okay, this one. Okay, so you have to present a table like this: the author and the short, the concise the concise quotations, and then the categories and the themes. Okay, so that's the first submission. And the second submission, the qualitative data. So you have to present the course and the properties. So those are what you have to submit to us for our comments. Is it clear, Dr. Nguyen Loan? Are the two tables clear enough?
To me, yes. I don't know
Okay,
what.
okay, I will email this one to Mr. Duy. Okay, and Duy will discuss this one with your friend. And if it is not clear enough, feel free to ask us. Okay. Duy.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes.
So maybe, yeah.
Excuse me. For the authors, do we have to cite like APA or?
No, just like Creswell,
Yes.
like this.
Okay.
Okay, and then you have the quotation here.
Yes. Okay.
Okay. Okay.
Yes.
Very concise. Okay.
Okay.
Just a demonstration, not the whole literature.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Goodbye. Yes.
Yeah. Can I confirm about again about the deadline? So next week will be about revising the aims of statements.
Yes.
Yeah. And 1 week after is this exercise, the literature review, right?
Yes, and then the week after next,
the return. Yeah.
and qualitative data. Okay.
Yes. So we have to like interview our friends or the teachers for the real qualitative data.
Just interview yourself, because right now we have the we are in the COVID-19 epidemic. So
yeah.
Is it okay, Dr. Nguyen Loan, just a demonstration? So they will be interviewing members in the group.
Yes, it's okay.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Dr. Loan and Dr. Nguyen.
Okay. So goodbye, everyone.
Yeah.
See
Goodbye.
you next week.
Bye, sir.
Goodbye.
Thank you, Dr.
Goodbye.
Nguyen Loan. Thank you, Dr. Nguyen Loan.
Goodbye.
Goodbye. Take care.
Bye,
Take care.
everyone.
Thank
Goodbye.
you, Doctor.
Goodbye. Goodbye.